The Moe and O show, the Moe and O photo show, El Fresco. Is it El Fresco? Or
Are you comfortable?
I'm as comfortable as I get. I'm a big fat guy.
Okay. Oh, look at us. I can't see that far. Can you?
I could barely see us, but we're there.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, this is a beautiful environment, don't you think?
All right.
Very
So,
beautiful.
hey, guys, welcome to the Moe and O show. We are not in my office. So, those of you watching on the YouTube video, we look like we're in heaven.
Ah, behold.
We're from the beyond. We're on my porch because it's a little cooler here. I have an attic office and it gets really hot. So, we're recording here on our nice little cool porch. How are you, buddy?
Great. And people know when it comes to hot videos, we don't look good. We look like melted butter with like shirts on.
If you want to see our first video, we recorded that. It was like a 97 degree hot day and we were melting, but it was fun.
It was the beginning of all of this beautifulness.
I know, and we've taken a break for a while. I've been crazy busy. I've been doing so many events, like 2 each week, and so everything backs up, and I've just been crazy busy every day, just trying not to burn out. I've been burnt out, but I never want the show to be forced. We actually recorded one.
Right, and we both felt like
You weren't feeling well, and I was completely like,
let's just do it.
let's just do it. Let's get out of the way. And everything was like, how are you?
Yeah. So we realized that this is one of those things that it's a love, it's a passion, and in the minute it starts feeling and forced, let's stop.
Yeah.
Let's catch up on everything else that's causing this.
Yeah.
And then we get back to it when we get back to it.
All right. So it's summertime. It's actually the beginning of summer. And what does that mean?
That means it's time to us to get our cameras ready to get outside there and record the real world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get outside. That's the first thing.
Man, the parts of the world that have very long winters, they must just be so excited. Places like Chicago or Russia.
Or Russia. That's a big jump.
So I think those places, it's great. They know they have it a limited time, and summer is just a great time to come out and do great photography. So in this episode, we are going to discuss some of the top tips, or just like a random general tip episode on how to improve your photography.
Right. We're not going to number these. These are just stuff in general.
Number one.
And damn it. These are all just stuff in general that you guys can find useful because we find them useful. I mean, it doesn't mean they'll work for everyone, but one of these you'd be like, oh, yeah, nice. Good idea.
Yeah, and also sort of relate it to your level. So I know when I get some, quote, top tips that I already know, you can just bring it up to the next level. So if someone, gives you a good tip, you're like, oh, I do that, but, bring it further. So if we give you a tip that you already kind of do, then further that tip to make it even tippier, tip top.
For instance, like we all know our cameras, right? Or we all have a basic understanding of our cameras.
Is this tip number one?
This is like incognito tip number one. But now since Omar made it officially, since I said we weren't going to number anything. So our first tip is pretty much know your camera. It's very important to know the strengths, the limits, how far you could push it, where you should at least start to minimize something. Like this is where I want to bring it into. So am I going to the beach this weekend with my camera?
point.
Do I want to bring there's gonna be sand. Do I want to bring my expensive camera to the beach with me?
Exactly.
Do I want to bring a little GoPro with me? Do I want to bring
Exactly.
a disposable quick fix camera that I have for like 30 years? And don't mind the airplanes or the birds flying overhead. Like Omar said, we are outside in his porch enjoying this beautiful
I forgot
weather.
to mention that. We have some of the windows open, so it's nice and summery in here, but you might hear roosters and stuff.
Yeah, because this is a crazy neighborhood. I mean, long live New Jersey. That's all I got to say.
But jumping off your point, I love your point of the GoPro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, most people want to bring their DSLR or whatever, but a day on the beach, man, just bring the GoPro and rock that because you can throw it in a bag that can get sand on it, and you will get new pictures of your family, like crazy wide, crazy fun.
And you have different options of these action type cameras now. I mean, you don't have to be a GoPro. You could buy that $149 one that you rock.
The Yi, yeah.
You could buy the new DJI, whatever it's called. I think it's action.
Oslo. Oh, that one, the
DJI.
Osmo.
No, there's like it might be that. It's one by DJI that's like
where you can see yourself, the action.
Is that
yeah.
So there's a variety of different types of cameras that you could take someplace like the beach that may get wet, may get sand in it. don't be that guy that rock out your brand new DSLR, whether it's a $700 one or a $1,500 one or a $3,000 one. Don't bring it to the beach.
Oh my God, sand is...
Because I mean, I've had to do professional work on the beach, and there's nothing more than that's a massive panic attack. Like you
not
have
just sand, the salt mist.
Exactly, because God forbid, like when I went out there, I was shooting with my 24-70 because I was hoping everything I needed would be in that range.
Oh, so not to switch lenses.
Not to have to switch lenses, but I had to. I had to go ultra wide. I had to go to my 12 millimeter, and I'm like, oh. And then I had to jump to my 70 to 200. So twice I had to switch lenses. So I had to. So
There's salt in there.
So what I did was I planned my shots in a way that would progress. I'm going from the 24-70.
Good, yeah.
To the ultra wide, and then to the 70 to 200, so I wouldn't have to go back and switch one more time.
That's a great point. Minimizing, lens
having
changes.
a layout in your head, especially when it comes to a dangerous environment where there's salt water in the air. And don't tell me you've never been to the beach and been sprayed with a little bit of mist.
Not only that, you could just taste it like a block away. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's why the cars out there rusted out back in the days faster, because it was just in the air.
El salistre. My mom used to always say, "Mira el salistre,"
whatever that means.
Salt in the air.
He went all bilingual on me. He's versatile like that.
Also bouncing off, like, knowing the limits of your camera is if you're taking a special trip this summer, like for example to somewhere where there's temples or dark areas, and your camera's not great at ISO performance, know what your limit is. Know that you can only go to 1600. Right. Because you don't want to shoot at 6400 ISO and then come back and be like, "Wow, they're broken apart." There's
broken apart. It's like patches of just grain everywhere, and it's more
weird
grain
colors,
and your face looks like someone punched you in the face.
I would say like most modern cameras nowadays are pretty good at high ISO to 1600, 3200. But if you've got an older camera, they used to just be like 800. Right, don't go above that.
Like super extended was 1600. It was their super extended
my
range.
40D.
And you're like, wow, 1600. That's so awesome.
Now they're like 256,000
on
ISO.
A weekend.
Yeah,
that's how we party.
So know the limits of your camera. If you're going somewhere where there's dark areas or temples or caves, then if you're pushing your ISO, maybe you could get away with it if you have a tripod and you're doing landscapes where things are still, if you're doing night photography. But for the most part, I would say know the limits of ISO, and then know the limits of what lenses you have.
Well, before you jump off to the lenses,
the
reverse of knowing your limits of the ISO, are you going to be in some place that it's so bright you're going to have at least an 8,000 shutter, or
an ND filter?
An ND filter, because your 4,000 shutter speed isn't enough to actually create a good picture.
I may have to get an ND filter for video, because your shutters get in bright sunlight. Your shutters are too high, and so you get like juddery video. So ND filter might be good for if you're doing video too. But I agree.
So you're saying, so now we go about knowing the limits about your lenses.
Just with the lenses. I've gone out with my Fuji X-T20 with the 18 to 55, and it's a great lens, but sometimes there were times where I felt it didn't go wide enough for my travels. I just love getting like a huge wide shot with which is why the Rokinon 12 millimeter is great. You mentioned the 12 millimeter as being a great lens. Is know your limitations. If you're going to be shooting beautiful wide, like architecture or landscapes wide, sometimes 24 is not wide enough, or dramatic
especially
enough.
If you're going someplace where it's all about the visual,
like the Grand Canyon that horseshoe water
if
thing.
If you're going to the Louvre, if you're going to Paris, there's so many things that a tight lens is not going to help you there.
Yeah.
So you want something wide. So either go with a point and shoot that is going to be wide enough and tight enough, or just pack a couple of light lenses that are going to, because again, you want to keep it light. You're traveling. You don't want to have your neck all sore, your shoulders hurting, be a target for someone to steal your stuff. So those are things to think about. Maybe a point and shoot with a large range on the lens is something you want.
Let me ask you this. What if I wanted to be like, how we always say you walk around with one prime, like this 56 millimeter 1.2, right, for vacation, and I say my Pixel camera is everything else? Like, what do you think of that?
I think in today's phone photography, it's more than a great idea.
Right.
It's justifiable.
And again, if someone's not that serious into photography, then they could have a camera that has a nice light prime lens on there, like something like a 35 millimeter or a 23, and then yo, if you need that panorama, your phone can take a great pano. You know, you can get away with it.
There is, and even though Huawei here in America is a bad word these days, their last great flagship phone, the P20 or the P30 Pro, whatever it was, they had a 5-time zoom.
Damn.
Where it's just it wasn't a digital zoom, it was a 5-time optical zoom. So some of these phones can really help you out.
Yeah, so I think it's a cool point where they help you out. So you don't have to stress so much about bringing 4 lenses.
Right. So if you're that morning, you only grab one. Hey, your phone. Most phones do 2 times optical zoom. Some 3 times, like the OnePlus 7 Pro. But like I said, some Huawei's can give you 5 times.
I was thinking more of the wide side. You know, you're thinking the other way. You're thinking zoom, but for me, my limitation usually is I want to be wider. Right. So I'm thinking like the LG phone or even an iPhone that does a pano.
Right.
You know, I would use that in a bind if I was walking around town and I want to get the whole street. It doesn't work. You can actually use your camera and stitch later, but who wants to do that?
So I think I've learned. So people who've watched this show since the very beginning have realized that I was so anti-Apple in the beginning, but I find more and more time with Apple is why I understand why they're good for everybody. Their pano system, their basic photography system in the camera.
Yeah, the software is easy to use.
It's just so simple. Yeah. It works. Use it. Don't be afraid of it. And matter of fact, most iPhones from the beginning of time were the better cameras on the phones.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
it's going away though. Wait, I was gonna mention one more thing. Oh, okay. So let's just end that tip because we got a lot of them. But understanding your camera strengths and limits. That's number 1. Number two is understanding light. To be a better photographer, one of the better tips you can have is because it actually doesn't matter what your camera is, if you can direct your subject to be in the place where it's getting the most beautiful light.
Right.
And light can have different qualities. Okay, so understanding light is you can have soft light and hard light. Okay, and soft light is what we have in here. We have nice, beautiful. Don't we look dreamy?
We are dreamy. It's not a look, son. It's who we are.
It's a lifestyle.
That's right.
It's called death. No, but I'm saying I just find that people sometimes sidelight someone too much. Like they don't realize that the window is to the person's side. If you start understanding, if you just move someone a couple of feet over, that like the catch light in their eyes, start looking at catch lights. You know, start looking at posters of famous people and look at the little glitter in their eyes.
And most of you out there are smart photographers. For those who don't know, catch light is as simple as the light that's caught in your eye by the reflection of the surroundings.
It's usually a window or the sky.
So if you don't have that, you usually have what's called dead eyes, and no one wants dead eyes in their photos unless, you know, it's a snapshot or family thing. But if you're posing the picture up, try to get something to reflect back off the person's eyes.
Yeah, we should put a picture up here of dead eyes because that is I love that jump when you realize dead eye versus live eyes.
Vivo, baby. Vivo.
So that's great advice because dead eyes is terrible. Raccoon eyes are terrible if the light is coming from above.
And you don't notice it until you notice it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've gone all your life with dead eyes.
I can see a cat's light right in you. There. Can you see me?
I see you, all sexy. So if you've never seen non-dead eyes, then you don't know any difference. But once you realize your photos will have a catch in it, you're like, wow, I've already upgraded 15%.
Yeah, and I've heard beginners, when I show someone the back of the camera, they're like, that's a good picture. They don't know why. They just know it. That's a good picture. What they're seeing is the life in someone's eyes. That's
the
what
life in someone's eyes. Your color balanced it right. You know, so many other things.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
but it's usually, you know, what pictures are, quote, for most people, good pictures are evenly lit, soft. You know,
what I'll do is when this episode airs, I will put on our Instagram page a quick poll. I'll put a left and a right picture.
Oh, that's a good point. Like, which is better?
And just ask which is better without saying why I'm asking.
All right, cool.
And see what kind of feedback
we get. I like that.
I might do it before we air. That way we'll have it, you know, as backup proof when people watch this.
Agreed. I was going to say... not only the light, but try to see what the light is bouncing off. Today I was doing a shoot where I positioned the young lady here, and I'm like, her face looks like a tomato.
I was just going to say that.
You were going to say that?
Yeah.
Go say it.
No, I was going to say, like what you're leaning your subject up against is also going to impact the light. If you lean her up against a red brick wall, guess what you're going to have?
But I agree with, the red brick wall is behind me.
Oh.
Yeah, so
So
it was bouncing
right on her face. So yeah, it doesn't matter. You have to remember that light is also what is absorbing and spitting it back out.
Totally.
So if you're next to brick floors, brick is the enemy.
Yeah, so what's your brick is the enemy. So what's your remedy, bruh?
One, if I can't get anywhere but a brick, I always bring a large, like, what is it, 36-inch reflector.
Perfect. That's
and
what I do.
And I block off as much as I can.
You can use some light from the sky and bounce
reflect
that
nice,
back
pretty
up.
back stuff. So yeah.
I like that. And you know what I did was we aborted, reflector wasn't working because we were in an alleyway. We couldn't reflect the light from above. So we ran to the car and got strobes. And maybe if I have time, I'll put a picture of Red Face Girl and how we remedied it.
Because strobes will always help you overpower everything.
Yeah, totally.
But if you want to keep it light, you go with the reflector. If the reflector doesn't work, just one simple stand and a powerful flashlight, not a flashlight, a powerful speed light.
Wow, that's
It's like good job. He's got a mag 1475 mag light.
one of those Hollywood like Batman lights.
I can't see, Mr. Photographer.
Just
smile,
open your
sister,
eyes.
just smile.
Open your eyes.
They're bleeding.
You want to do the next one?
Where are we?
Take your time? Or you want me to do that?
Go ahead, we'll do that. Go ahead, do that one.
I'll do that one. All right. So one thing that used to frustrate me when I first started doing photography was I would just come back and my pictures weren't great. And I think part of it was I would just go out, shoot for 30 minutes, and then come back with crap, you know? And I think if I took my time and had more patience where I'm trying to make just one photograph, like why don't I go out and try to work one photograph for the 30 minutes instead of trying to take the series of portfolio shots that don't work.
Right, and you're not going to get that with that one, with that spraying,
walking,
hoping.
looking, searching, shooting, and then coming back. So I was always frustrated in the beginning. And so what I think is you could even start at home. Like one way you can improve your photography is just, you know what? I'm just going to photograph this. Let me move this light here, there. Let me set the camera up on a tripod and see what happens.
How do I make this potted plant look beautiful?
Yeah, and not only does it work with understanding light, understanding your camera, but composition. You know, composition is hard. To take a good picture of this is kind of hard, you know, because it's just like a plant.
You ever play with composition to the point where you took a picture at such a unique angle, then you dare someone else to tell you what it was?
No, I've always wanted to do that. It's good luck with macro lenses.
Right,
like,
right.
what is this?
Yeah,
you know?
I was just thinking about that when I was looking at that and you're saying composition. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Just
fun
random,
too.
sorry,
But that could be a project.
Right.
That could be like where someone's like, I want to take a picture where people don't know what it is. You know, and that
but it has to be that the minute you tell the person what it is, they're like,
oh, yeah.
You can't be like it's a cup.
There used to be yeah, it didn't fool me. There used to be this magazine that were called eye benders and eyeball benders. That's what they were. And they were macro shots of things and you were like staring at it. And then it would, if you look at the answer, you know, some of them you could figure out what they were, but it's like a comb.
Right,
you know, it's just slats. You're like, a fence? No, a comb. Cool.
That's awesome.
All right, you do the next one.
All right. Know your subjects. For instance, if you're
Math,
history, that's a different kind of game altogether. So if you're out there shooting kids, bugs, flowers, anything like that, know what you're getting into. Obviously, if you're going to be shooting kids, depending on the environment you're shooting them in, whether it's something in a park or whether you're sitting down at home, it's a big difference to know. At home, they're not going to be running around like crazy little kids.
Yeah.
But if they're in a park environment and they're young enough, they're not going to want to sit still for Mr. Photographer.
Yeah.
So you want to try to capture them in their element of running around. So you want to have a high shutter speed, a good ISO to balance it all out, but at the same time, you want to have an aperture that's going to help you create a shallow depth of field.
Good, I like that. Separate them from the background.
So this is where you may need an ND filter if you're outside, during the day and it's really bright, because it's kind of hard to get the kids to show up the golden hour or super early in the morning before everything turns, blue.
Cool.
And what I mean blue is the light. Like it goes from golden to blue.
Thought you meant to get dirty.
That's right.
He went blue.
Rated. Hey now. Also, if you're doing flowers, like Omar was telling me a few minutes ago, what's the biggest pet peeve about colors you find with flowers?
Well, like certain reds, if you bring them back into Lightroom and things, you can actually clip your reds, which means if you overexpose your reds, it's hard to get real color back.
It'll look orangey yellow on the way back.
Yeah, and also, having a good white balance so that you can most true to life. A lot of the cameras, even your phone, super saturate colors. And so when you photograph, if you're doing flower photography, a lot of flower photographers will tone down their colors in camera and then bring them back in post so that nothing clips if you're shooting, in JPEG form.
And if you don't know how to, adjust your colors quickly in your camera, the easier way to do it is sometimes to underexpose.
Yeah. That'll hold a lot, retain a lot of
Because that way,
information.
if you're shooting, even if you're shooting JPEG, but if you're shooting RAW specifically, but if you're shooting JPEG or RAW, you underexpose a little bit, you can bring it back, in whatever editing tool you have, even on your phone if you're using like a Snapseed or something
All right,
like
so
that.
let's back up a little bit because I know we have think of all the different levels of photographers that we have out there.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's someone shooting JPEG flowers, just don't overexpose.
Mm-hmm.
Control your flower colors, for example. That's one. If you're more advanced, like you're shooting RAW and stuff, one is to shoot RAW. Don't rely on the colors. If you are shooting RAW as someone who's more advanced, then know what your colors are. Meaning, shoot a sort of like a color checker passport, so you can color balance, and then you can sort of work with the red. So I think that is something as a good tip is know your colors. For an advanced photographer. I was going to mention one more thing when you were talking about the kids. Let them play.
Right.
Like a good tip for if you're doing children photography is stop calling them. Stop saying look. Let them play.
You're right. To me, that was so automatic. That's why I said you're going to need the faster
The long
shutter
lens.
speed. Right.
Yeah,
That's why
you were
because
thinking in your
I was
mind.
already
Yeah.
there because that's an automatic. If you want the best children's photos, let them be children.
Great.
If you're telling them sit there, don't
Yeah,
move,
smile.
then
Yeah.
you know what? They're gonna wear out in 5 minutes, and you're gonna be done with that shoot.
All right, so I'm going to skip ahead because your point goes to my next one, which is the perspective one. So I think one tip for new photographers is a lot of us shoot when we first start is we shoot at the height that we're standing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with a lot of our cameras now have flip out screens that start shooting your camera at a different level or a different angle. Get down on the ground, stand up at the top of a stoop and shoot down. Adding a new perspective to the photograph, I think, is a great way for people to see a picture and be like, oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Rethink the photo that everyone else has seen because you're doing it differently.
Absolutely. So if the kids are frolicking,
Farting.
if the kids are farting, run.
Oh, guess so.
If they're frolicking, don't stand there at your height and take a picture. Why don't you take a knee, go down to the grass, take a knee, even put some grass in the photo where you can shoot very low to the ground and then the kids look really tall. And that gives you a new perspective on kids
Fun
photography.
angle, really nice.
Or the flower. If you were going to take a new perspective of flower, you're shooting from below the flower, which is like, whoa, they look like trees. So try that too. Change your perspective on whatever you're photographing and pretend that, there was a great advice that I learned from Rick Salmon that learned from someone else. I forgot who the person was that he learned from. But he used to say that the camera is a spaceship. And pretend that little Jetson spaceship is roaming around, and see what the spaceship wants to look at. And then you can take the photograph from that new perspective. I thought that was cool.
It's a real good idea. Never heard that before.
All right, what do we got next?
All right, remember to fill your frame.
What does that mean?
That means make it as wide open as possible. No. That means that a lot of photographers, including myself at times, take a large, wide-angle photo, right?
When your subject is small, you mean?
Right.
Okay.
And then you end up having to crop it, and then you're losing details and stuff like that. But if you fill the frame to begin with, where you have it at a closer perspective, that there's less dead space around the...
Dead space is the key, yeah.
Then that photo automatically has more details to work with, and it gives you a different perspective, and it gives you a feeling of connecting more with the subject than if it was in a big, wide open photo.
Totally. And I would say that's great too for just working on your composition. You're filling the frame in your eye, like right in your viewfinder, and you don't have to crop later. You don't have to make a photo later. You're taking the photo. You're making it here.
I mean, yeah, because a lot of times you see these big ass photos you take and you're like crop.
Yeah. It happens when my event photography. Sometimes I go too wide to catch a moment. What are your thoughts on headshots or portraits where people crop? Have you seen that before? There's crop of the head.
Yeah. So here, story time.
Okay.
4 months ago, about mid February, March, someone asked me for some headshots.
Okay.
And it was a corporate look, and he specifically said, "Pull me in tight, cut off the top of my head."
Was he balding? Or?
He's bald,
Okay.
and he did not like the shape of his head.
Okay.
So he's one of those specifically
Wow.
that asked me to work with what I had to make his appearance look better. and to be honest with you, he did have a weird shape. I mean, I didn't.
You're like, you're right, yo.
You don't notice it until you're looking at the photo. So obviously he's been photographed where he's felt uncomfortable about it before.
Well, that's good that he came in.
Yeah.
with that.
So I thought, okay, that was pretty weird. So I specifically did a wide group to crop later, and then we also did 85 fill the frames.
Oh, wow.
Where I actually cut off part of the top of his head and give him perspective
look?
and act him. He was very happy.
Oh,
I
cool.
thought they were weird.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not the client.
There's a wedding photographer that crops in. What the heck is his name? If I remember,
put it
I'll
here,
tell you.
if he
Yeah.
remembers,
He shoots at an angle, number one, and two, he'll crop like brides and stuff. It's like his pictures. He doesn't fill the frame; he stuffs the frame.
Right. So how do you feel about that? Do you feel it works for him, so good for him? Would I try that?
I don't like. Number one, I don't like it as a. I think I like it as like an outlier. You know, like when you do one, but for the most part, I'm making sure that the person's head is not cut off because you can't ever get that back. You could always crop in if you're gonna get artsy, but I have done it in the past, like where a kid has freckles or something, and the picture's about their freckles and about their eyes. That we don't really care. And then so you kind of get a cool, you could do a cool crop there where the picture, is really close up. I could see that. But I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of cropping heads. You see the fly in here?
He's like, hey, whoa, where do you sneak in from?
We have a fly in here, and it's kind of creeping me out.
Oh, he must die.
Help
Where are my
me,
spider friends
help
when we need them? All right.
What do you got? Go out alone. What does that mean?
That just don't touch anybody. Don't be part of this Me Too world.
All by myself. All right, go out alone. You want me to do that?
Yeah, go ahead. Why not?
All right, so this is a big one for me because I'm easily distracted. What happens when we go out and shoot with Georgie or Laz? Like, I love shooting with people, but
It becomes a lunch date, pretty much, right?
doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we have the best time, but
it's not a photo shoot. It's not a photo.
we
fun
do a
time.
little bit of photography, but we end up just having Pete. Oh, the
All of my nose.
fly just landed in
All
Mo's
of my nose.
That means you smell like crap in there.
Oh, that's not nice. That's an agile fly. I tell you what. Like,
Wow,
you went
that
between
almost
the
went
mic and
in,
my ear.
man. Damn.
Okay.
Or now I'm really afraid.
Now I'm gonna have to kill that thing.
You dead, fly. Oh my gosh, this episode just got very exciting.
I'm sweating now. It's amazing. It stressed me out because what the heck was that? Like, how did it get in between this little area?
I know,
here? Like,
that
it's
was
like
crazy.
ninja
Oh my
flies.
gosh, that was hilarious. All right, so I've gone out with friends and it doesn't work out. I actually end up with nothing later.
Even photo walks end up being 5
So
minutes.
photo walks. You're right.
Yeah, even photo walks end up being a shoot the breeze type of thing.
So, and it's great.
Because that's the purpose of photo
should
walk
be
is to
photo
get better
talk, yo.
and to get together with fellow photographers. This is still bothering me. that tickly thing. So yeah, the purpose of the photo walk is to get out there and bond, but also get a little better photography one way or the other and share the experience. But sometimes going out alone.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say is just being inside your mind and working out compositions, being patient, and to become a better photographer, sometimes you need silence. You got to tone everything out. So I think photo walks are great, and hanging out with the buds is okay, but it doesn't improve your
No,
photography.
9 out of 10 times, no. It just improves your liver count.
I went out with Laz once, and we had the best time. We had our Fujis. We traded Fujis. I borrowed his XT2 at the time. I didn't have it. And then we were switching lenses, and we were like, haha, we took pictures by the Little League field. And then we're like, want to get pizza? Yeah. We had the best time.
That's how it ended up for Laz and I. We got early together. We got up early to go shoot Hoboken.
Yeah.
From the perspective of Patterson Plank Road, and
Cool.
and we got pictures of the projects and pictures of the Hoboken, and we ended up by the Clanbroth house. Next thing you know, we're eating dinner at the spa, breakfast at the spa.
Dinner. I was like, damn, that's a long day.
That was a long, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to bounce off that and say instead of going out, all right, let's say you go out alone, you could limit yourself too by either limiting your subject, but my next tip is just pick one lens to go out with. Don't go out with the whole kit. And that will help you sort of rock out that lens,
And when you say one lens, do you have a difference, or just any one lens, a zoom, a
Yeah,
prime?
only a zoom. Like, for example, I went out with the 18 to 55 so that I wouldn't have the option to go to my 35 f2, which I love. It's like, you know what? And boy, you should have seen me. I was holding the lens in my hand. I was holding it, and I wanted to figure out, should I bring both? Should I? And I said, just freaking bring the 18 to 55.
And that's a great lens, though. Isn't that the f2.8?
Yeah, it's a great lens. That's what I mean. It hurt to leave it.
Because if those who don't remember, Omar let me borrow his Fuji system for a while, and
It's a fun lens, right?
I loved it. I enjoyed it. I rocked it. It was great. I don't know if I'd convert over to it yet, but it definitely made me want to more than before. So that 1835 at f2.8 is a miraculous lens.
Yeah,
It's something that you can enjoy.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, go out with your prime, whatever you have.
Yeah, I would say let's go out with one lens to see how it goes. You know,
I've been walking around with my 25 badass all this time.
Hey, that picture of your dog, was that the phone?
The one that you
The
made
one that was
fun
fake
of?
bokeh? Yeah.
Oh, Omar's such a hater of my dog, first of all.
We'll talk about that next episode. Pet photography next episode.
But yeah, no, that was the OnePlus 7
All right,
Pro.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
But they can't do close bokeh.
No.
That's the giveaway, man.
But you know what? It's a beautiful picture of my dog, regardless. I love my
so
dog.
biased.
Yeah, that's my boy.
It's like he looks like he's on a green screen.
second
All right.
son, yeah, I love
Next. Let's do the last one. Hashtag searches. Go.
So if you're thinking of stuff to do and you're not sure how you want to do it, it's first of all, 9 out of 10, 9.99 photos that you've seen out of 10, someone else has done that same composition before.
Yeah.
So don't try to be so original that you end up breaking your back and end up being in traction for 18 months.
Hold on, the flies are here.
No way. And Omar, you got one trapped, and there's one over there now. So, is that the window that was open?
All right, hashtag. Sorry.
And then, so what do? So you know you're not going to compose your very own original shot. So find some shots you like. And how do you find shots you like? Going into the world of like Instagram or Google and typing in some hashtags. For instance, in Instagram, you type in hashtag, Empire State Building. And then you're going to get a whole bunch of different angles and shots from there that you can figure out how can I make that same one.
Absolutely. You know what's a good hashtag? Strobist. Have you ever tried that?
No.
Strobist will give you everyone who's doing, speed light work. So if you're like into speed lights, type in off-camera flash as a hashtag, and you start to see that. You know what's beautiful on Instagram? What's starting to everyone is starting to do. A lot of photographers. They'll show you the photograph, and then you swipe to the right, and you see their setup.
Yeah, I like that.
And then you swipe one more time, and they write notes all over it to teach people. And it's like, I'm not going to do that.
No, stupid. I mean, thank you, but it's stupid.
No, it's beautiful. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
and
I see that more on Google, but I guess it's moving on to Instagram too.
Yeah, and Instagram, and these photographers are helping people understand lighting and stuff. And I wish I had more time to just do that. But these guys are great. They're showing you their shutter speed, their aperture, what light they're using.
But they're the kind of people that are so OCD that they don't want to see bad photos anymore. So they're trying to teach the masses.
You're right about that.
They're like, stop taking bad
As
pictures.
opposed to me, I'm in a market. I'm in a market of other photographers. So do I want to give away all my secrets?
Right.
There's other mitzvah photographers. Right. God bless them. Let them do their thing, because I see their photos. What if they start using my modifiers and my, what I'm saying?
Techniques and stuff.
I'm a little nervous.
Nothing wrong with that. It's a business player.
They still don't have my personality.
Make
though.
your money,
right?
Make your money.
Yeah,
his personality is awesome. Yes, he didn't pay me to say that.
I think this was a great episode. We actually wrote stuff down so that we wouldn't be boring.
We're not boring. We're just flylicious.
Yeah,
we're so fly.
All right, we're gonna kill these flies. Oh, Nick!
Anyway.
All right. So we hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want to see more episodes, let us know in the comments below. It's good to see you guys again, and we hope you enjoy summer. Get out there and shoot, and leave us your tips below. I mean, if you're on the YouTube channel, tell us your photography tips for just taking better photos.
Another thing, if you can't take back to the beach, if you can't take your camera, most of these phones are water resistant.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't mean they're waterproof, so don't go dunking yourself in the water thinking it's going to work. They're water resistant, so you always have a great camera no matter where you are.
Great point. All right, guys.
Be good.
See you next time.